Hello everyone, I'm Brandon, this is Brian back here. Today we're cutting some dovetails on this really awesome Katz-Moses Dovetail Jig. So let's check it out. Alright, so here we have a close-up of these dovetail guides from Katz-Moses. On the bottom you have your markings for a 6:1 or an 8:1. Just a little disclaimer, these markings are a little hard to read with the camera, but in person you can actually see them perfectly clear. They are laser engraved. On the top you have markings for a 90-degree shoulder mark. You have two sides for pins so that you can do either angle on the pins, and a tail side which has got your appropriate slope for your 6:1 or your 8:1. And then along the side you have some rare earth magnets that are able to hold up to 10 pounds, which is utilized when you have your saw. This is a scraper because my saw is not next to me, but you put your saw up against it and that's what's used to guide it straight down. You can also utilize a chisel when you're going in and cleaning it out. If you notice, this is all cast as one solid piece from polyurethane, the same material made to use pool balls. Due to it being one solid cast, it means that there is no joint here, so this is virtually indestructible. We have found that there are two ways to really grip this while you're using it, and partially depending on your own ergonomics of holding it. The other could be in reference to if you're using a pull saw or a push saw. You can put it in front and line your saw up this way so that the friction is pushing up against it, or you can hold it in the back, specifically if you're using a pull stroke, or maybe you just like to have it in the back and let the guide pull into the workpiece. So that is a close-up look at the dovetail jigs. So, with the two magnets, you can line up your chisel, or for a great 90-degree cut, or even an angled cut, you can use it as a chisel guide, or you can take your dovetail saw, which is what is intended, and cut straight down. Alright, let's see it. Let's see it in action.
Okay, so these are some case sides that I'm working on for a project. It's going to be sort of a Krenov-inspired cabinet on stand type thing. And I've made a couple of cuts. I'm starting on my tails here. And these are the very first cuts I've ever used this dovetail jig on. Historically, I've never used one of these before. I've always been more of the learn to do it the hard way, that way you can always do it kind of guy. But I have to say, I'm pretty impressed with this so far. These cuts are super nice and straight, very, very accurate. They're all, at the same angle because my saw is being held at the same angle. So it's going to be really interesting to see what these look like when I'm done compared to the hand-cut dovetails that I've done in the past without a guide. So we're going to come in a little bit closer here and take a look at how this thing actually works. Alright, so here's how this thing works and how I've kind of been using it. I bring the jig up to my workpiece, slap my saw against those magnets, and it's there, like it's stuck on there. Bring it over to my marking knife line, which you can't see, but I can see. And I'm going to take the jig away and do a backstroke just to sort of establish where I need to be. And then start cutting. And you can see the jig totally holds the saw right in place. to the next one. One thing a lot of people I've heard with other jigs like these is that they can't use a Western style saw because they have these backs on them. But the one from jkatz-moses have a lower profile, which allows you to get a deeper cut with a Western style saw. A lot of these you see people using Japanese style pull saws with, and you can totally use those with this. It works fine, and I think that's actually what's recommended. But I'm a Western saw kind of guy, and this works great.
Alright, now to kind of admit something. I have never actually cut dovetails. Not with a router, not with a jig, not with anything. So, complete novice. Brian, you know, he's got that comparison of doing it by hand or using this guide, which, by the way, he can't stop cutting dovetails back there. So I'm pretty sure he's really digging the guide. So now I'm going to go in there and cut my first ever set of dovetails and see how it goes. So here's what's going on. Brian decided to try this baby out on an actual case that he's got to make. And unbeknownst to me, he's got about, 30 odd dovetails there. So it's going to be a minute before we get to see his fit. But he finally got all of the tails done, and he's going to start working on the pins. So far, the comment has really been the ability to reproduce in mass quantity and consistency is been amazing. Ergonomically, it fits really good in your hand. There is a little slickness to it due to the fact that it's polyurethane, and jkatz-moses mentioned that they're actually some of the mold release tends to get on this, or comes with it on it, and makes it a little slick. But you can grab some sandpaper to help keep a grip on it, or you just get used to it and cut some dovetails.
I noticed, I was actually worried about that at first. Let me see this thing.
Alright, he's gonna look at that thing.
I was worried about the slickness of these things at first. I pulled it out of the package and I thought, holy cow, that thing's really slippery. How are you going to hold on to it while you're sawing up next to it? I didn't clean mine off at all. I didn't do anything to them. And they were fine. I didn't have a problem at all. So I don't see it being an issue. But it was a first thought that I had when I opened the box. I was like, wow, these are really slippery. But it wasn't a problem.
Alright. So back to me, because why not? I did get my very first set of dovetails cut. Now, they're not great. I think I need to work on my chiselmanship. Also, I had some of the wood. I guess the scrap wood we had was a little punky, so it kind of came apart. So that didn't help. But I have my first dovetail.
Now, bring those in close.
All right, let's bring it in close.
This is Brandon's first set of dovetails. These are actually really good.
Let me get the focus here.
A first set of dovetails.
There we go.
There's some gaps, but they're not horrible. Not horrible by any means.
And they're all repairable.
Alright guys, so these are the dovetail jigs from jkatz-moses. If you want to pick them up, there'll be a link down in the description. It is an affiliate link, so we'll get a little bit of a kickback from it, but it doesn't cost you guys anything extra. We're also giving, what, one set of these away?
Nope, we're giving 2.
Oh, 2 sets away, so you'll also find a link down in the description for the giveaway. I like them. I like them. I've never used a dovetail jig before. My dovetails aren't done. It's a little bit of an ambitious project, but I've done the cutting with them, right? The jig has done its job so far on my project, and I like it. All of the side walls of my tails are identical, same slope, everything. I've always just done it by hand, and there's always a little bit of wonkiness to it, and I've always just kind of justified that to myself as, oh well, they're hand cut, they're allowed to be a little wonky. I like the uniformity. I like this. Nothing wrong with a little help now and again, I guess, right? What do you think?
I think for consistency's sake, it's not help, it's a godsend. As always, thank you for tuning in. Please repost, follow, subscribe. Tell us what you like. You know, the more of you there are, the more stuff we can get. So, thanks for watching.
See you next time.
So let's talk about what's going on.
Hold on.
Holding on!
I didn't realize you were doing that just now.
I really feel as though you could have probably done with less dovetails.
I could have. But it's too late now.
Yeah.
I could have. I could have made them much larger. But now...
Did we just do the home improvement?
I think we may have. Oh, shit.